Should you buy drums on the TikTok shop? That's the question we're gonna answer in today's video. I know some of you are probably thinking that TikTok shop and drum kits do not belong in the same sentence, and honestly, you're not wrong. It's not like TikTok shop is known for quality drum gear. Now, there's a bunch of different beginner type drum sets available on the TikTok shop, but none of them really stood out to me like as much as this kit, the JBK Blackhawk 522. So let's start with the unboxing. The box that it comes in is really heavy, and I ended up carrying all the pieces individually down the stairs and just basically set it up behind me one at a time. That part is a little annoying, but expect this for any standard drum kit. One thing to watch out for, some of the tension rods had fallen out of the plastic bags because of small little holes that are in those bags. So make sure to check the box carefully, like at the very bottom, just so that none get lost. And this kind of goes for all kind of starter kits that you're gonna buy. The assembly is straightforward. If you've ever set up an acoustic drum set before, there's really not too much different except on the hardware front. But keep in mind, only the snare drum comes with the heads pre-installed. You'll need to put the heads on the toms and the bass drum yourself. If you're just starting out, brand new to drums, tuning the kit is probably going to be the most challenging part of setting the kit up, especially with these stock heads, but there's tons of YouTube tutorials, and I'll link to a couple down in the video description. For this kit, and especially if you're sticking with the stock heads, I really would recommend putting some moon gel or tape on the heads to control a lot of the overtone, because these beginner kind of stock heads are going to have a lot of overtones just kind of as they are. The hi-hat stand was also a little finicky to put together for the first time, and this also goes for any hi-hat stand. If you're having trouble screwing the rod into the bass, just take the entire hi-hat stand completely apart before trying to screw the rod into place. Now the shells themselves, they've got a natural finish, and it's kind of plain, and surprisingly this finish is actually a wrap. At this price range, that's pretty typical to see wraps on drums, and the wrap itself is pretty solid. There's no bubbling or peeling. Inside, some of the shells had small imperfections, but for the most part, the bearing edges actually look way better than I expected than compared to like other kits in this price range. Of all the stock heads, the snare and the bass drum are going to be the weakest sounding. So if you want to swap out the heads, grab an Evans UV1 for the snare top and a Super Kick 2 for the bass drum that's made by Aquarian. That's probably the easiest upgrade you can make for really any set of beginner shells if you're having problems. The hardware on the kit, this is a mixed bag. The tom stand I do like. It holds them solidly and gives you good flexibility with placement. The cymbal stand, which is the exact same as the tom stand, can hold both a ride and a crash cymbal, which I think is cool, but if you load it with heavy cymbals and don't position the arms perfectly, it can tip over. And one limitation here is that there isn't an additional cymbal stand for your traditional crash cymbal placement near your hi-hat. The hi-hat stand is solid for the most part, but it does have this weird kind of wobble under your foot while you're playing. And I will say the kick pedal is functional, but I really can't use it. It just is, it does not play well. This is something I would invest in right away. And a lot of times on beginner kits, the bass drum pedal that they give you is typically not very reliable. So Yamaha FP7210, I think is the model. That's the one I recommend for beginners. And personally, that would be the first thing I'd upgrade in addition to the kick and snare drum heads. Now, the snare drum is probably the weakest link in this entire kit. Like most beginner kits, it has the standard 8 lugs instead of 10, which most of us are used to. It's common on entry-level drums, so I'm really not knocking it for that, but I did notice when swapping the snare drum head out that the hardware machining is pretty subpar. One of the tension rods had trouble holding tune, and it really would like to loosen up while I played, and I've got it sitting pretty well right now, but that is something that does worry me. With replacement heads, I think the snare drum sounds pretty good, but the build quality makes me question how well this snare drum is gonna hold up long term. The lugs feel a bit cheap, so I'd kind of be a little worried about cranking the tension rods too tight. I'd worry about stripping the lugs. And while the throw off works fine right now, I do worry that over time it's gonna loosen up and require regular tweaking to keep that snare wire still tight. Still, on a beginner set of shells, most drummers, the first thing they go to after a year or two is gonna be a new snare drum. Worth mentioning that there are no cymbals included with this kit. So you're gonna have to pick up a set of starter cymbals, and cymbals to me, they make the biggest difference overall to your sound. Now, if you're gonna need the cheapest option, your best bet is gonna be the Meinl HCS starter cymbal set for about $99. Those still kind of sound pretty bad, but then there's also a company called Wuhan. They have the 457 series. Now that's a little bit better. I would say the top tier of the beginner starter cymbal sets, you're gonna look at the Meinl Classics Custom. Those are probably the best ones. Those are gonna be pricey. You're gonna be spending more money on the cymbals than you will the entire drum set though, so keep that in mind. Even if you went with the $99 HCS starter cymbal set, that's gonna sound better than the brass cymbals that come with other beginner acoustic kits. Keep in mind, we are talking other things you're gonna have to spend money on if you get a kit like this. It looks appealing when you see it on the TikTok shop for $389 or whatever the sale price is currently, but there are certain things you're gonna have to get. Cymbals, new drum heads, a kick pedal, a drum throne. There's a lot of stuff here we're missing. So where does that leave us? For me, this is a practice drum kit, but I'm definitely going to gig with it in the future. I really don't take my studio kit with me to gigs because I know other drummers are gonna be sitting in and playing on it, and I've done that in the past, and I've had broken mics, I've had dented heads, I've had just everything under the sun, scratched drums, people handling your drums. I don't trust anybody anymore after touring. When I gig, I take cheaper drums with me, so I think there is utility for the professional drummer to have something like this. Even if it's not this exact kit, to have a cheaper drum set to take with you, that's a good move. Plus, my DW kit is super heavy, and this kit's lightweight, and it's just easier to move around, and so if I'm taking this up and down stairs to go into a club, I would just rather play this. And something about the look of the kit too is like, it doesn't scream beginner kit, which is a big plus if you're making content or want something that looks a little bit more serious than the price actually suggests. Sound is always going to be subjective, but I think it does deliver a pretty solid entry-level playing experience. And for the whole like virgin bass drum debate, I really don't buy into the purist mindset. You can get amazing tone from either setup, so don't let that be a selling point for you outside of like it looks cool. So I'd say it's like appealing for the first time drummers who want to learn on something solid or basically like shoot videos with. And this one stands out as one of the only decent full kits you can actually buy on TikTok shop, which I think does make it unique in a way because there's a lot of people who probably are only buying off of there now, which is actually bizarre to me, but they probably do exist. That's my take on the JBK Blackhawk 522, and if you didn't really like this kit, I've got another acoustic drum review right here. You can check that one out, and I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts down below in the comments. And if this review helped you, don't forget to like, subscribe, do all the things. I'll see you all in the next video. YouTube thinks you'll like this video next. Let me know if they're right.